Are you tired of playing by someone else's rules? What if unstoppable success looked exactly the way you define it? This isn't about following a guru. It's about unlocking your divine path, one that's been buried beneath doubt, delay, and denial for far too long. Forget everything you think you know about success, because the real kind, the kind that flows, lasts, and liberates, doesn't come from chasing approval or checking boxes. It's manifested when you stop performing and start aligning. So why do your blessings still feel out of reach, no matter how hard you try? And how do you create a life that finally reflects your deepest desires without selling your soul to get there? You've prayed, you've waited, you've done the affirmations, the hustle, the grind. But what if your breakthrough isn't coming because you're working so hard for it? What if divine law doesn't respond to pressure, but to peace? What if your words, idle, anxious, or resentful, are casting spells that keep you stuck? You are not out of favor. You are not out of chancy. You are simply out of alignment. And alignment doesn't come through force. It comes through faith spoken aloud. It comes through blessing what you desire instead of resenting it. It comes when you surrender the how, and the when becomes now. This is your moment to rewrite the rule, to reclaim the voice that creates worlds, to break the cycle of delay and step into divine design. Because your life isn't meant to look like anyone else's. And starting today, it won't.
You've waited long enough. You've spoken prayers, repeated affirmations, stayed patient through storms. But let me ask you something. If the law truly hears you, why does it feel like nothing moves? Why does the breakthrough seem just beyond your reach? Always one more month, one more miracle away. You say the right words, but deep down, a whisper lingers. Maybe I don't deserve it. Maybe this is just how life is. And that lie, it's the one that buries dreams. But hear me now, the law does not sleep. It waits for your command. It does not work by tears. It works by authority. And that authority lies in your spoken word. Because your word is your wand. This is not about wishing. It is about knowing. It is not about asking. It is about declaring. You are not waiting on God. You are waiting on your own spiritual certainty. The law of the word is the law that built this universe, and it still works today. You live in a world formed by your own speech. Every phrase, every passing comment, every I can't, every I hope, is a seed. The law of the word, as Florence Scovel Shinn taught, is not poetic. It is mechanical. Your word is your wand, not your thoughts, not your wish, not even your prayers, but the word you declare as truth. What is it? It's the law that says, whatever you speak with feeling becomes form. Not eventually, immediately in the unseen, then gradually in the seen. Because vibration becomes creation, sound becomes shape, spirit becomes matter. Why do people block it? Because they speak against their own desires. They ask for wealth but speak of struggle. They seek love but speak of abandonment. They crave healing but speak of symptoms. The mouth says, I trust, but the tongue whispers, I'm scared. And the law, being impersonal, follows command, not confusion. It mirrors your dominant word, not your occasional hope. How do you align? First, guard the gates. Watch your words like a priest guards the temple. Second, rehearse the truth until it feels real, not because it is real, but because it must become real. Third, speak with finality. No begging, no wavering, no disclaimers. Say it is done, and mean it. If your life were a courtroom, your word is the final ruling. Speak only what you are willing to live. I now command my world with clarity and faith. I now command my world with clarity and faith. I speak only what I desire to receive. I speak only what I desire to receive. My word is my wand. I write my reality with it. My word is my wand. I write my reality with it. The law moves when I speak in truth. The law moves when I speak in truth. By 34, she'd survived enough to be grateful, but not enough to feel free. Her finances were tight. Her confidence, even tighter. She smiled in rooms and cried in cars. One day, a friend handed her an old, yellowed, on the inside page, 5 words were underlined in red. "Your word is your wand," she scoffed. She rolled her eyes, but something inside her, something long buried, stirred. That night, she sat in the dark, whispering to herself, "I am worthy, I am whole, I am prosperous." Again, again, no music, no magic, just repetition and trembling faith. The next morning, nothing changed. Bills still stacked, emails still unread, but she kept speaking, even when doubt laughed in her face. Weeks passed. Something strange began. A forgotten invoice got paid. A new client found her without a pitch. Her tone changed. Her posture straightened. She no longer asked for miracles. She declared them. Because she finally understood. Life does not bow to victims. It obeys creators. You must speak as if it already belongs to you. You don't beg the universe. You direct it with reverence, with precision, with finality. And every time you say, "It is done," the law begins its work. You are not out of options. You are out of alignment. You say you want a new life, but what do you expect every morning? You say you believe, but what do you prepare for? Hope that tiptoes does not move the heavens. It is assumption, bold, grounded, sacred, that shifts reality. The law is not cruel. It is perfect, and it gives you what you prepare to receive. Nothing comes by chance. It comes by conscious agreement. You are not unlucky. You are unconvinced. You are not behind. You are misaligned. The law of assumption says that what you accept as truth, even without evidence, becomes form. Florence said, "Man can only receive what he sees himself receiving, not what he wants, not what he tries, what he sees himself receiving." What is it? It's the law that manifests your beliefs. The world becomes the picture you carry in your inner camera. You assume poverty. You get it. You assume delay. It stretches on. You assume favor. Doors open that weren't even built yet. Why do people block it? Because they wait for proof to believe. But the law only brings what's already accepted as fact. People say, "I'll believe it when I see it." The law replies, "You'll see it when you believe it." How do you align? Decide first. Prepare boldly. Then walk forward as though it's done. This is not pretending. It's positioning. Faith does not knock. Faith walks in. I now assume every good thing is already mine. I receive what I believe. I receive what I believe. I see myself in the life I desire. I see myself in the life I desire. Divine law responds to my inner truth. Divine law responds to my inner truth. He was always waiting, waiting for the day his business would pick up, waiting for the phone call, the email, the opportunity. But every time something started to build, it collapsed. He thought he had a strategy problem, but what he really had was an assumption problem. In his mind, he still pictured struggle, still braced for loss, still carried shame. One night, he stood in the middle of his rented room and said, "I don't know how, but I will no longer live small." Then he did something strange. He packed a suitcase for a trip he hadn't booked yet. He assumed his new future and began preparing like it was already here. He bought business cards for a job he hadn't been offered. He began introducing himself not by what he did, but by what he declared. And it worked, not because the world changed, but because his image of himself did. He didn't just wait for a breakthrough. He agreed with one. You don't get what you pray for. You get what you expect. Life does not rise to your hopes. It bends to your assumptions. Speak boldly. Align daily. Prepare faithfully. Because even if it was written 100 years ago, it still works today.
You've done everything they told you to. You've visualized. You've prayed. You've pushed. You've waited. But it still feels like something or someone is keeping the door locked. You tell yourself, maybe I'm not trying hard enough. Maybe I just need to work more. But let me ask you something. What if effort isn't the key? What if surrender is? What if your need to control every detail is the very thing pushing your blessings away? You don't need to force what's already yours. You need to stop turning the handle on a door that only opens when you let go. Because here's the truth. The door swings open when you stop forcing the lock. The law does not move by strain. It moves by alignment, and alignment is the byproduct of non-resistance, the lost art of trusting divine timing. The law of non-resistance is one of the most misunderstood spiritual principles. It doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean doing nothing. It means removing the emotional charge that blocks the flow. What is it? It's the law that says, when you stop pushing, you stop creating friction. And when there is no friction, there is flow. As Florence said, I do not resist this situation. I put it in the hands of infinite love and wisdom. Why do people block it? Because the human mind confuses peace with passivity. We've been trained to believe that if we're not struggling, we're not succeeding. We think letting go means losing control, when in truth, it means returning control to the source that never fails. You push the outcome. You push the person. You push yourself to exhaustion. And in doing so, you choke the very thing you're trying to manifest. How do you shift into alignment? You release the how. You relax into trust. You stop begging and start allowing. Non-resistance is not weakness, it's wisdom. Let your desire rise. Let your fear fall. Say this or something better now manifest for me. In perfect timing, under grace. Then breathe and get out of your own way. I now release the need to control. I now release the need to control. I trust divine order is working for me. I trust divine order is working for me. I let go and allow miracles to move. I let go and allow miracles to move. I'm a safe even when I surrender. I'm a safe even when I surrender. This or something better is already mine. This or something better is already mine. The law works through peace, not pressure. The law works through peace, not pressure. He had a plan for everything. Wake up at 5, answer emails, hustle, grind. He had schedules, backups, bulletproof blueprints. But still, life wasn't clicking. It didn't make sense. He was disciplined, focused, smart. But no matter how much he pushed, opportunities slipped through his fingers. Relationships crumbled. Clients backed out last minute. His heart was exhausted. One night, in a rare moment of silence, he stumbled across a line in a dusty old book. I do not resist this situation. I put it in the hands of infinite love and wisdom. He didn't understand it, but something about it stung. So he tried something crazy. He stopped trying. He stopped fighting to make it work, and instead whispered, if it's mine, it will come, and if it doesn't, it never was. 3 days later, he got a call. A delayed contract was approved, not because of a follow-up, but because the space he created by letting go made room for the blessing. He realized the door had never been locked. He was just pushing it the wrong way. You are not failing. You are forcing. Let go. Let God. Let flow. There is no battle when the law is working for you. There is only alignment. You try to change your life, but you still carry the same self-image. You invest in new habits, but deep down, you still believe you're not enough. You work on goals, but your inner mirror still shows limitation. You cannot outrun the image you hold of yourself, because life reflects the picture you carry, not the one you perform. The law of assumption teaches what you believe about yourself is more powerful than what you do. If you believe you're undeserving, no amount of effort will save you. But if you believe you're already whole, the world has no choice but to rise and meet you there. What is it? The law that says you do not receive what you want or what you earn, you receive what you expect. Why do people block it? Because the world conditions us to wait for proof before we believe. But the law doesn't work that way. It requires internal belief before external evidence. And here's the twist. Most people secretly expect failure while hoping for success. And so, the subconscious wins. How do you shift? You change the image. You stop asking, what do I deserve? And start saying, I am already the version of me that has it. As Florence taught, man can only receive what he sees himself receiving. So stop trying to earn it, start agreeing with it. Look in the mirror and say, that's the one, that's who it's happening for. I see myself as worthy, I see myself as worthy. I assume the highest for my life. I assume the highest for my life. My identity aligns with my desires. My identity aligns with my desires. I reflect abundance in my thoughts and actions. I reflect abundance in my thoughts and actions. My self-image is now a match for miracles. My self-image is now a match for miracles. I am already the person I was waiting to become. I am already the person I was waiting to become. She spent her life apologizing for asking too much, for shining too brightly, for even existing. In meetings, she downplayed her ideas. In love, she settled for less. She worked twice as hard just to feel barely enough. Then one day, she read a single sentence. Man must prepare for the thing he has asked for, when there isn't the slightest sign of it in sight. She realized she wasn't preparing for her dream. She was preparing to be disciplined. Her whole posture, her tone, her words were rehearsing failure. So she did the unthinkable. She stopped apologizing. She bought a dress for the life she wanted. She updated her resume to match the role she expected, not the one she had. She stood in the mirror and said, she's already inside me. I just have to let her lead now. And she did. She got the job, the love, the joy, not because she became someone else, but because she finally saw herself as the woman it was meant for. You cannot chase what your soul doesn't believe it can hold. Upgrade your image, and the world will follow. You are not too much. You were just seeing too little.
You're doing everything right, yet you're still stuck at the same crossroads. You've journaled, you've visualized, you've waited patiently, but deep down there's a storm you can't quiet. The ache of delay, the whisper in your mind that says, if this was truly meant for me, wouldn't it be here by now? You're tired, not just in body but in soul. Tired of fighting battles that never end. Tired of smiling while silently begging for a breakthrough. So let me ask you something sacred. What if the delay isn't a punishment but a test? What if you're not being denied? You're being disciplined. Because the truth is, the delay is not denial. It's spiritual discipline. It's the universe preparing you to hold the thing you asked for, not just touch it for a moment. This isn't a test of time. It's a test of alignment. And what you do in the waiting determines how long you stay there. The law of divine timing isn't soft or sentimental. It's precise, unshakable, immovable by panic. It doesn't work by your calendar. It works by your consciousness. What is it? It's the law that governs right action in right season, when your inner state becomes a match for your outer desire. As Florence said, faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly. Why do people block it? Because we treat time like a thief, always stealing, never serving. We think waiting means nothing is happening. But waiting is not stillness. It is spiritual weightlifting. Every second you don't get what you want, you're being asked, will you prepare anyway? Will you show up in faith, not fear? Most people don't fail because they asked for the wrong thing. They fail because they gave up in the hallway before the door opened. How do you shift? You stop measuring time and start measuring trust. You stop watching the clock and start watching your consciousness. You wake up as if the miracle is already scheduled, because spiritually it is. You dress for it, speak for it, prepare room for it. And when fear creeps in, you don't fight it. You discipline it with truth. My good is on its way. Delayed does not mean denied. Denied, he thought it would come quickly. After all, he'd done everything right. The prayer, the vision board, the routine. But month after month, the breakthrough never came. He began to question himself. Maybe I'm not aligned. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe it's just not meant for me. But late one night, alone in his room, he read these words. When man prepares for the thing he has asked for, he shows active faith. That line struck him like lightning. He realized he was asking for a new life, but preparing to stay in the same one. So he made a bold shift. He cleaned his space as if the blessing was already here. He updated his resume, not for the job he had, but the role he expected. He spoke to himself in the mirror like a man who knew, not hoped. And 3 weeks later, his life turned. The opportunity came. The connection clicked. The delay was never denial. It was divine discipline, waiting for his faith to match his desire. So if you're in a season of silence, a season of stillness, a season that feels like you've been forgotten, you haven't been forgotten. You're being forward. You're being strengthened in the waiting. Keep preparing, because when the moment arrives, it will be too late to get ready. You'll either be ready or you'll watch it pass you by. Your delay is not your downfall, it is your development. And when it finally comes, you'll realize the waiting was the greatest gift. You wake up with a dream inside you, but somehow fear always speaks louder. You say, "This is what I want," but beneath it echoes another voice. What if it never happened? And without knowing it, you begin assuming the worst. You think you're being realistic, but you're really building a life based on fear instead of faith.
Let me tell you something with holy boldness. What you fear, you invite. What you assume, you create. Your life doesn't respond to hope. It responds to your dominant assumption. You are not the victim of life. You are the projector, and what plays out in your world is nothing but the film you've loaded inside. This is the law of assumption, a law so divine, it governs the unseen. Florence taught, man can only receive what he sees himself receiving. You can't fake this law. You can't manipulate it. You either believe in what's coming, or you block it with fear. What is the law of assumption is the law that says, whatever you assume to be true in your inner world, regardless of outer evidence, will shape your reality. It doesn't wait for proof, it creates the proof. Why do people block? Because assumption feels like lying when you've lived too long in lack. It feels like fantasy when your reality contradicts your faith. We want to believe, but we want the world to change first. But it doesn't work that way. You must believe first. Assume it now. Live from it today. How do you shift? Simple. You stop asking, what if it doesn't happen? And start asking, what if it's already done? Then walk like it. Speak like it. Think like it. Dress like it. Act like someone whose blessing has already arrived. Don't wait to see the change. Be the change, and the law will follow. She had grown tired of hoping, tired of journaling things that never showed up, tired of being the only one in her circle who still believed in miracles. Her heart was quietly breaking, not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet ache of disappointment. Every morning she woke up and life looked the same. But one morning, something shifted. She read a quote, "Change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live." And that hit her soul. Because the truth was, she had never really changed her self-image. She still saw herself as small, as waiting, as someone who might receive, never as someone who had already received. So she made a decision. She changed her assumption. No, nothing around her changed. But she changed. Her walk, her tone, her energy. She stopped talking like a victim. She stopped explaining her weight. Instead, she said, "It's done. I am no longer hoping. I am hosting the miracle." Within 6 weeks, her finances flipped. The offer came. The door opened. Not because she fought harder, but because she assumed differently. She didn't fear the worst anymore. She prepared for the best, and it showed up. So here's what you must understand. Every day, you are assuming something. You are assuming it will work or it won't. You are assuming favor or failure, and the law has no opinion. It just reflects. It doesn't argue. It doesn't edit. It simply says, as you believe, so shall it be. So when the delay tests your patience, trust divine timing. When fear tempts your focus, realign your assumption. When the world tells you, not yet, remember, the law is already working. It's waiting for you to match it. This is not theory, it's spiritual law. Delay is not denial, and fear is not a prophecy, unless you let it be. Stand tall in the waiting, assume the highest outcome, and act like your good is already in the room. Because spiritually it is. The law of life is not slow. You are just being trained in trust. And when it's time, you won't chase it. You'll receive it with both hands and a full heart. You've been speaking without knowing the weight of your words. You've said, "I'm tired," not realizing you invited more exhaustion. You've joked, "I'll never be rich," not knowing you wrote it into your future. You've casually declared, "I'm always unlucky," not realizing you just handed your power over to the wind. Tell me this, what are you willing to live? Truly live, if your next sentence was a prophecy. If your next phrase became law, would you still say it? Because here's the truth you were never taught in school. Words cast spells, and most people live in cages they've built with their own tongues. You are not unlucky. You are not cursed. You are not broken. You are simply living out the stories you keep telling. But today, something sacred can shift. Today, you will reclaim the truth of this ancient law. Your word is your wand. Florence Scovel Shinn called it the law of the word, the law that governs the relationship between your voice and your reality. It's not symbolic, it's scientific, it's spiritual, and it's immediate. What is it? The law of the word says whatever you speak, especially with feeling, becomes your reality. Whether consciously or unconsciously, you are always creating with your mouth. By your words you are justified, and by your words you are condemned. That is not just scripture, that is spiritual mechanics. You are writing the script of your life with every casual complaint, every whispered self-judgment, every sarcastic remark. Your reality doesn't form from what you want. It forms from what you confirm. Why do people block it? Because we live in a culture that mocks the power of words. We think words are harmless, just a way to vent or be real. But every word you speak is a blueprint. Florence said the subconscious is impressed by ideas only when expressed in words and backed by faith. When you say, "Nothing ever works for me," your subconscious doesn't know you're joking. It hears that as a divine instruction. How do you shift? You become spiritually literate. You watch your mouth like a priest guards the altar. You stop speaking out of emotion and start speaking out of creation. You declare only what you are willing to receive, and if you wouldn't write it into law, you don't say it. Idle words are expensive. They invoice your future. Every time you say, "I can't," the universe stamps the order, confirmed. You can't. But when you say, "I am ready," heaven responds, "We've been waiting." He was tired of always being almost there. He'd lost count of how many interviews he'd had, how many opportunities had slipped. He'd say it all the time, "I'm cursed when it comes to timing." It became his identity, spoken so often, he believed it. One night, after another almost, he opened a dusty copy of The Game of Life and How to Play. He read, "Your word is your wand." He paused. He reread it. Then he whispered to himself, "I'm not cursed. I've been careless." In that moment, he made a vow. From today, I only speak what I'm willing to receive. The next morning, his alarm went off. He wanted to groan. Instead, he said, "Today is sacred. Everything is lining up." No shift in his bank account. No miracle email. But inside, a storm had calmed. Days turned to weeks. And as he rewired his words, his world began to mirror them. One phone call, one meeting, one open door. Not magic. Alignment. He stopped using words to describe his life. He started using words to direct it. When you say, "I always mess up," you are conjuring chaos. When you say, "Money never stays with me," you are repelling your own good. Instead, speak like royalty. Speak like one who knows the throne answers to their voice. Speak like the law is already moving, because let every sentence be sacred. Let every phrase be a prayer. Let every declaration be dressed in power. Because the truth is, you've been casting spells this whole time. Now you'll start casting miracles. Why am I still in the same loop? The same pain, the same lesson. You cry out, "What am I doing wrong?" But what if the pain isn't punishment? What if the delay isn't rejection? What if the setback is simply a realignment? A divine correction before your arrival. We want success that looks clean. No detours, no missteps. But the soul doesn't grow that way. Before you receive what's yours, you must become who it belongs to. That's why the setback came. To shape you. to burn away everything that can't hold the blessing. The law reshapes you before it rewards you. This is the divine law of adjustment, a law often ignored, but always active. What is it? It's the law that ensures you are aligned with what you are asking for. If you're not ready, it delays. If you're out of alignment, it disrupts, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Florence said, "There is no loss in divine mind. Therefore, we cannot lose anything that rightfully belongs to us. If something goes, it is because something better is on its way, something more aligned." Why do people block it? Because we mistake discomfort for disaster. We believe if the road breaks, it must be over, but the law only breaks what no longer fits. You lose a job and think the dream is over, but that job was never your final stop, just a training ground. You face betrayal and think love is unsafe, but that pain was pruning, not punishment. How do you shift? You bless the breaking, you trust the teardown, you stop labeling the moment and start asking, what is this preparing me for? Because every setback is secretly sacred. The rejection is redirection. The collapse is construction. You're not being broken, you're being rebuilt. She had built her business from nothing. Late nights, coffee, sacrifice, and just when things began to flow, it all came crashing down. Clients ghosted, bills mounted. She felt humiliated. She began saying, maybe I'm not meant for this. But something within her wouldn't let go, not of the dream, but of the knowing. She sat in silence and asked, what is this shaping in me? And the answer came softly, faith that doesn't depend on fruit. So she got up, with tears still fresh, she rebuilt, this time not from fear, but from alignment. And within months, the offers returned, better ones, aligned ones. She was no longer hustling for crumbs. She had become a match for overflow. The old her couldn't hold the new harvest. The storm didn't destroy her, it refined her. Dato, you will be tempted to curse your setbacks, to believe the pain is proof you've failed. But listen carefully, the fire is not the end, it is the beginning. Everything that seems to be falling apart is actually falling into place. Not for the life you planned, but for the one that's truly yours. So when the law begins to shake the ground, do not cling to old versions of yourself. Let go, let the law do its work, let it remove what doesn't belong, let it align you. Because when the reward comes, and it will, you will not question its arrival. You'll look back and realize, every loss was a setup, every no was sacred, every scar was architecture. The law reshapes before it rewards, it delays so you can develop, and it tests you. Not to hurt you, but to see if you're finally ready. Though speak carefully, because your words write reality, and walk boldly, because your detours are not destruction, they are divine instruction. Every word is a seed, every setback is a setup, every delay is design. Let this truth settle into your bones. Your life isn't falling apart, it's falling into perfect alignment.
You say you want abundance, but do you secretly resent those who have it? You say you want love, but do you mock those who are in it? You say you want to rise, but do you quietly shrink those who already have? This is the silent sabotage of the soul, and most never see it coming. If your desire causes bitterness when someone else receives it first, you are not in alignment. You are in resistance, and what you resist, flees. So I ask you, from the sacred seed of your spirit, can you bless what you want before it comes? Can you cheer for the very thing your ego claims is missing? Because if you cannot bless it in another, you cannot hold it in yourself. You cannot possess what you secretly resent. But here's the miracle. When you bless it, it begins to come near. When you genuinely celebrate it, as if it's already yours, the vibration shifts, the walls fall, and what once looked like lack was only your lesson in disguise. Resentment blocks, blessing magnetizing, and spiritual power is nothing more than your ability to keep your heart clean when the world seems unfair. If you can do that, if you can bless even when you feel behind, then nothing shall be withheld from you. Nothing. You are now being introduced to the law of radiance, though Florence often called it the law of praise. It's subtle, but it is one of the most potent spiritual technologies you will ever wield. The law says, what you resent, you reject. What you praise, you draw near. What is this law? The law of radiance teaches, that you attract not what you want, but what you gladly welcome in others. Your heart is a mirror. The cleaner it is, the more powerfully it reflects your good. When you see wealth and you praise it, it enters your field. When you see love and you bless it, it warms your path. And when you see success and you honor it, the gates open. This is not metaphor, it is metaphysics. B. Why do people block this law? Because the ego is addicted to comparison. And where there is comparison, there is competition. And where there is competition, there is quiet envy, masked as sarcasm, disguised as moral superiority, or hidden behind false humility. We mock what we want, and wonder why it won't come. We resent the wealthy, yet pray for riches. We scoff at power, yet cry for influence. The blessing cannot come to a vessel closed by judgment. C. How do we return to alignment? 3 words. Praise on purpose. Every time your ego wants to compare, bless instead. Every time jealousy rises, praise out loud. Every time you see someone ahead, send them light. Florence said, bless your enemy, and you rob him of his ammunition. Now hear this. Bless your desire, and you rob lack of its power. Your word is your wand. Speak what you want, and then go further. Bless it wherever you see it. Celebrate it as if it's already yours. Because it is. It's just waiting for a place where it's safe to land. I now bless all I see, and draw near all I need. I now bless all I see, and draw near all I need. I praise what I desire, and it flows to me freely. I praise what I desire, and it flows to me freely. I celebrate every sign, even before it's mine. I celebrate every sign, even before it's mine. I release resentment, and rise into reception. I release resentment, and rise into reception. All that is mine is now making its way to me. All that is mine is now making its way to me. She couldn't stop crying. She had been passed over for the promotion. Again, and the woman who got it, less qualified, less committed, less deserving in her eyes. But there was one difference. That woman had a glow. She walked like it was already done. She carried herself like the universe owed her nothing, because it had already given her everything. And our girl, she carried disappointment like perfume. It followed her into every room. One night, standing in front of her mirror, she heard her own inner voice say, "Do you bless or do you blame?" She broke. For years she had been silently resenting the ones who had what she wanted, rolling her eyes at their joy, downplaying their success, guarding her own heart like a wounded soldier, and calling it discernment. That night, she changed the game. She began blessing every woman she envied, out loud. She praised their confidence. She admired their walk. She celebrated their favor. And every time her ego screamed, "Why not me?" she whispered back, "I bless her because I am her." Within 60 days, she was offered a role she hadn't even applied for. Bigger title, bigger salary, no competition, because the moment she stopped resenting, she started receiving. You are not being punished. You are being purified. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you celebrate. Now, let's shift. You've done the vision boards. You've done the mantras. You've journaled your desires down to the last detail, but nothing is moving. And your heart is starting to wonder, have I been forgotten? I need you to hear this. When you let go of the how, the when becomes now, because divine timing does not respond to pressure, only to peace. You've been trying to calculate your miracle, micromanage your manifestation, command God like a vending machine, but there is no formula that makes the river rush. Only surrender makes it rain. Your work is to ask and align. Your job is to expect and exhale. It is the energy of no force that holds the most force of all. This is the law of non-resistance, the sacred art of surrender. What is it? Florence called it the law that opens all doors. When you resist, you repel. When you surrender, you receive. The law of non-resistance teaches this. What you chase runs. What you allow comes. It is not passivity. It is sacred power. To surrender is not to quit. It is to trust that what you've asked for is already on its way, and that your panic only delays its arrival. B. Why do people block this law? Because we are addicted to control. We fear delay, so we force. We fear silence, so we shout. We fear no, so we chase yes like beggars. But every time you grasp, you tell the universe, I don't believe it's mine. Every time you chase, you whisper to God, you need help delivering it. And so the blessing waits, because divine timing cannot be bullied. It waits for your peace, not your pressure. C. How to align. Stop asking when. Start asking where is my peace. Release the deadline. Return to the desire. Let the how be none of your business, and let your joy be full-time work. Florence said, faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly. So stop checking the mailbox. Start dressing for the event. You are not waiting for it. It is waiting for you to be ready to receive it without force. I now release all pressure and step into peace. I now release all pressure and step into peace. Divine timing is unfolding. I do not chase. I trust. Divine timing is unfolding. I do not chase. I trust. What is mine flows to me with perfect ease. What is mine flows to me with perfect ease. I let go of the how and rest in the knowing. I let go of the how and rest in the knowing. The miracle is already in motion. The miracle is already in motion. Built Pinterest boards and dream journals, even left sticky notes on her bathroom mirror that read, I am home. But every deal kept falling through, one by one, door by door. She started to panic. What am I doing wrong? Her answer came from an old woman at the farmer's market. She casually said, sometimes God delays it, so you don't settle. That night, she stopped everything. No more listings, no more checklists. She got on her knees and said one sentence, God, I trust you to choose better than I can. 2 weeks later, a friend called out of nowhere, there's a home not even listed yet, but I know the owner. She's looking for someone who will love it. She walked in and cried. Every vision she had was already waiting inside those walls. Because the moment she let go of the how, the when became now. Surrender isn't weakness, it's wealth. The door opens the moment you stop knocking and start trusting. Bless what you want. It's your invitation to receive. Let go of the how. It's your signal to let it find you. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are simply being aligned, not with what your ego demands, but with what your soul was born to hold. And it's coming, but only to the version of you who's calm enough to carry it. Now take a breath and receive.
You don't have to chase what was never designed to fulfill you. You don't have to play small just because others fear your fire. And you certainly don't have to keep waiting for a sign. You are the sign. The truth is, your breakthrough isn't somewhere out there. It's not sitting at the top of some mountain. Only the perfect can climb. It's already within you, buried beneath years of doubt, delay, and doing things the right way. But here's your wake-up call. The right way is breaking you. The pleasing, the proving, the performing. It's killing your spirit in exchange for crumbs of validation. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if you stopped apologizing for your power? What doors would open if you blessed your desires instead of resenting those who have them? What timing would accelerate if you surrendered the how and walked in peace? The law is always listening, and it's not responding to your effort, it's responding to your energy. Say it aloud, I am not for delay, I am not for lack, I am not for small, I am for divine right order, I am for peace, power, and purpose. I am no longer renting a life that wasn't built for me, I'm building my own by law. Your next level isn't waiting, it's waiting on you. Subscribe if you're ready to stop surviving and start divinely designing. Hit that bell because your future isn't coming, it's being spoken right now.